it's Dee from CatalystEnergies. Thanks for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. This is your astrological report for the full moon lunar eclipse that is happening at 11:22 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2:22 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 7:22 p.m. UK time on January 10th, 2020. I am in a different environment right now that I don't have a lot of control over the external noise. I'm in an apartment right now that has a lot of traffic outside. So if you can hear that, my apologies. But you know, that's just how life is in this fast-paced world of ours. But what's really important today is that we're going to talk about the full moon lunar eclipse that is happening on Friday, and right on the cusp of one of the biggest astrological transits that's happened in a very, very long time. It's been talked about for the last year and beyond. And Saturn and Pluto have not conjuncted in Capricorn for 500 years. And so this is truly the changing of the guard and the shift into a new era. And I think that it is very serendipitous that we're having a full moon lunar eclipse in Cancer leading up to this event, because the moon is about how we feel on the inside, what our moods are, what our intuition says. It's all about how we personally connect with our emotional state. And Cancer is the home of the moon. And Cancer is about emotional security. It is about home and family and where we feel rooted and secure. And I think that this is a very, very well-placed full moon right now to give us kind of a preview of how we're feeling, where we feel secure, where we feel safe, and how that will inevitably be in opposition seemingly to the events that are transpiring as a result of this. I wouldn't say as a result, but that is forecasted by this massive conjunction. I think that might be what is, you know, how people maybe misinterpret the art and science of reading astrology. Some people, many people, in fact, that don't understand astrology will think that it's some sort of tool of divination and that it predicts, well, it does offer predictions, but that it somehow is responsible for the things that happen. And in reality, it's more of, it is in fact a giant clock that shows when things are likely to transpire based on the resonance of all of these planets and points that are part of our solar system and our lives, and also part of our galaxy. If we want to look at, you know, fixed stars and how they impact what's going on with us as well. So even though the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, I would not say is responsible for anything that happens, it is more of a, it is the hands on a clock pointing to the time when certain things are happening, and they are very certain big things. But for now, we're going to talk about the full moon lunar eclipse in Cancer that is happening on Friday. And it's also right now, January 9th, 2020. I didn't do a daily for today, and I wanted to kind of combine these two days astrologically as a lead up into the full moon. And there's that really big truck. Oh man, the traffic is just ruthless. Everybody's driving everywhere all the time. So I'm going to share the screen. We're going to look at the chart, and we're going to give ourselves a little extra idea of what's potentially going on here with this full moon lunar eclipse. And I hope everybody is doing okay. I know it's a very challenging and stressful time right now, and this is a real good opportunity to tap into what it is that we need that allows us to feel safe and secure. So this is the 9th of January. It's actually as of 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And earlier today, so we have our moon in Cancer. Let's get my little stylus here. we have our moon in Cancer since, let's see, since very early this morning. And as of now, she's at between 7 and 8 degrees, coming very close, actually, to a conjunction with the North Node and an opposition to the South Node of the moon. Before this, though, she had, as you can see here, a square with Chiron and Aries. You know, she's coming into the beginning of Cancer. And then a sextile, 60-degree angle with Uranus and Taurus. It's also going to station direct on the same day as the lunar eclipse. And so Uranus being a very large, slow-moving planet that has a lot of impact, I would say, energetically on what's going on here, for that planet to station direct and move forward is going to certainly signify a quick and rapid, innovative shift when it comes to our resources, the planet, our bodies. It's the physical manifestation of reality. And so we might very likely experience something in that realm of a rapid shift, even if it's in perspective. You know, when it comes to our personal lives, it really matters where these things are happening in your natal chart and how they're aspected to get the most accurate reflection of how these energies play out for us individually. But collectively, we're looking at a shift in the physical aspects of reality with Uranus moving forward. So the moon in Cancer, having a square here to Chiron. Cancer is the first water sign in the zodiac. You know, the house systems aren't set up here. They're not reflecting the actual house system in this moment. So we have Aries here and Taurus, Gemini. And you notice that we go through fire, earth, air, and we don't get to water until we are at the bottom of the chart, or what's called the nadir, which is the very bottom, the darkest, the largest void in some ways. And it's very fitting that the moon would be the ruler of the Cancer zodiac sign, and also the 4th house, because with the moon there is no light of her own until the other than the sun shining on her. And so we do resort to how we feel, like what's going on internally, the spaces that we don't actually see out in our conscious minds is what the moon rules. It's also the divine feminine. It's the yin aspect. It's dark. It's reflective. It is watery and dreamy. But when it comes to Cancer specifically, it is really about, Cancer is the vessel that contains the waters of our spirituality and our emotions and our feelings. Cancer is the root system that allows the plant to be stable in the soil and gather nutrients from the soil. It's the womb. It is the container that holds us emotionally so that we can, continue to progress through the process of individuation. So collectively, the moon coming here, I think, is really drawing us inward to find that, find the vessel. Where is it that we feel safe and secure? When it's trining Chiron, when she's trining Chiron like this, Chiron in Aries, this wounded healer, this wounded aspect of ourselves, of, questioning our self-worth. Do we even deserve to be here? Do we deserve to even, be happy? Do we deserve to, move forward with ourselves and satisfying our egos in some way? Are we even worthy of existing? I feel like that is kind of the basic, that's the kind of the basic message of a Chiron and Aries right now, and the wounded divine masculine, because there is a lot of wounding with the masculine traits. I mean, you see it out in the world, and we're all feeling it within as well, because it's been, you know, the patriarchy has certainly been taken advantage of all of us, really, in order to continue to build and maintain power for all the wrong reasons. Rather than a balance of power between dualities of masculine and feminine, the masculine has gone overboard and has become drunk with power. And as we collectively are identifying that and coming to terms with that and realizing that this is way out of balance and has been for a long time, there is this, you know, questioning, maybe, is this aspect of who we are even something that can possibly exist? Is it something that we can allow to exist even? And obviously we have to, because we still live on Earth in three-dimensional time and space. And so duality is still a part of existence here. And we do need the balance of feminine and masculine in order to gain real power and real, and to be fully conscious. So Chiron in Aries has been really dealing and grappling with this for a long time. And so this square to the moon very early this morning, it's like the moon just wants to, you know, the Chiron in Aries just wants to like kind of scream out and tantrum and be heard and like be acknowledged. And the moon in Cancer really just wants to like wrap that energy up, to nurture it, to cover it in like a blanket, to contain it in some ways. And this square can really feel, you know, like that containment, but it's really a containment that's allowing for safety, for security. But it may not feel like that when you are just lashing out, you know, when you are acting out and you are trying, you're exploding forward and you're exploding out, you know, you have this fire, this combustion from Aries. The water, it's just, you know, it can feel like trying to put out the fire, can feel like it's almost smothering in some ways. And this is where the square is coming from, because there really is a very strong pull now to start acknowledging what it is that, how we make ourselves feel safe, how we can help others feel safe and secure, how we can meet them where they are and accept them and love them. And that doesn't mean feeding into the tantrum necessarily. That means, you know, enveloping and providing containment, but there is some tension with that. The good news is that as she came around to have this sextile to Uranus, I think that this is also really supporting the change that is going to come about, as you know, forecasted by Uranus going direct in Taurus. The moon loves to be in Taurus and is also in home in Cancer. And so I think that she's going to have a lot of extra support and energy behind her as she makes this sextile to Uranus. And where we're feeling safe and secure, our desires, our pull, our movement inward to wanting to feel safe and secure and to take care of ourselves and other people is very much going to align very well with this change. And maybe in some ways we'll kind of, you know, activate it in some ways to happen, to move into place, whatever that is, and to accept it, and to also to feel secure in it. You know, I feel like that emotionally, whatever is going to be happening with Uranus moving direct, whatever's going on in our actual real physical lives, the moon in Cancer is going to allow us to feel secure enough to kind of accept that and embrace it, and to I would say to feel safe within ourselves enough to allow that change to manifest more just in a way that's more, it's not going to be gentle, that's for sure, but we, you know, as long as we're feeling secure within, we know where our safety is and where that containment is, we can really manage that quick, you know, innovative, shocking change a lot better. And so this is all happening this morning. And then the moon, then she came around and had a quincunx to Mars in Sagittarius here, and the degree point that Mars in Sagittarius is an owl, you know, an old owl up in a tree. And it's really about, are you using the wisdom, are you sitting in a position of wisdom of things that you've learned so far and that you've come to understand? Or are you in a position of intellectual and emotional smugness about where you're at so far? You know, it could really go either way. It just depends on where Mars is aspected in your chart and where he's sitting, and because he is moving forward and, you know, he's on the quest no matter what. And so depending on how you work with Mars and where he is for you. But in the context of the collective, the moon, she's quincunxing, there's an inconjunct here. And so this safety and security that she is, you know, allowing us to kind of resonate with and to cultivate within ourselves, I mean, is not really lining up and it's in need of adjustment with this Mars in Sagittarius. And so there are some things that we've learned, and we can take our wisdom and apply that to move into a deeper understanding, as far as the bigger picture and our seeking of truth. You know, Mars in Sagittarius is definitely, you know, on the quest to seek truth, you know, to understand the nature of existence in order to develop a belief system, you know. And so although that is, you can really see that playing out in a lot of different venues right now, but is that really what we need for emotional security? Does that really make us feel safe or allow us to feel safe? And I think that that's a question that is asked when you have something like a quincunx between these 2 points, okay? As the day progresses, now this has already happened, and so we might be asking these questions, have come up against some situations that allow us to ask these questions or to feel this energy. And then, you know, just as the rest of today goes on, the moon, then she's going to conjunct with the North Node in Cancer, and then oppose the South Node, and then shortly after that, oppose Jupiter in Capricorn. And we can, you know, with the North Node or Rahu, it is our collective destiny point. It's the head of the dragon. It's the energy that we're, you know, that's pulling us along. It's where it's our destiny point. Like what's driving us, or what are we driving toward in some ways in this lifetime to evolve and to master. And sometimes that could be, it's hard to tame that energy. It can be hungry and desirous in some ways. And the moon lining up with this point for us today could certainly make us feel like, well, I know that, you know, the goal here is to be taking care of ourselves and each other, and to like be in this emotional, you know, nurturing place where, you know, we're containing and we're holding, you know, and we're holding space for ourselves and other people to feel vulnerable and in order to be themselves. And there's a drive to do it. And I think that this could really, especially with the opposition, not just to the North Node, but to Jupiter at the same place, which is expansive, abundant. It is leadership. It is the teacher. It is the guru. It is the master. Jupiter, you know, Jupiter has a lot of, you know, big ideas about what's the right course of action and what's the right idea, you know, what is the truth. I mean, and Jupiter, you know, doesn't really question himself. So as far as he's concerned, he has all the answers. And in a lot of cases, there's a lot of reason why Jupiter, you know, comes to these conclusions. But since he's sitting on the South Node, which is the point of release for us, what are we letting go of in order to move forward? I think there's going to be an incredible amount of oppositional tension, obviously, with an opposition between us internally feeling just so moved to like take care and be nurturing and to really, identify with this sacred feminine maternal archetype that's saying, like, we have to take care of each other, we have to hold space for each other, we have to be kind to each other. And the opposition to that with Jupiter, you know, and the South Node saying, like, no, we need to expand these enterprises that are building something structural that really doesn't have anything to do with how we feel. It doesn't really have much to do with what we think about anything. It's just a very singular goal that we need to reach, and we will build it at any cost. And Jupiter really thinks that he has the ultimate truth around this and will continue to expand on this. And I feel like that you can really see this playing out in the collective, on the global stage right now. And the good news is that I think because there's so much, you know, Jupiter is in detriment in Capricorn, you know, this is not, and as he's moving on, he's becoming less and less powerful in Capricorn. You know, right now he's still kind of in that first 10 degrees where he rules, right? And he's like implementing his ideas into something, you know, to develop something physical, but he's losing power here. And I think that this moon is really showing us, like, we're feeling it very strongly, where we need to go, what we need to let go of, how we need to even let go of it, and to trust ourselves in our intuition and our vulnerability, and know that that's, I think this is showing us that it is the right path. And as you know, Jupiter is, like I said, losing power in terms of Capricorn, enterprising, building, government structures, you know what I mean, corporate structures, like the things that are going to last. And it's not that these things aren't important, but they are not meant to be the driving force of how we create the next chapter in humanity's story. As we finish out today, the moon then is going to have this a sesquisquare with Venus in Aquarius, and she's getting to the outer edges now of Aquarius. And I think a sesquisquare is a very subtle square. It's a 135-degree angle. Sometimes it can represent past life energy interacting potentially with what's going on right now. And as much as Venus has been kind of nice in this Aquarius zone, giving us like kind of a template of how we want our relationships to look in terms of the bigger picture and the collective. The thing about Aquarius is that eventually the energy becomes detached and aloof, because it's all up in the third eye, it's all up here in the upper levels of consciousness where we're not really feeling necessarily anything. It's all coming in through the mind. It's coming in through the mind. And so there is some sort of like, some sort of tension that we can't really put our finger on when it comes to the moon in also these later degrees of Cancer, where she has incredible mastery and power in terms of being the priestess. I mean, the moon is the high priestess, right? In the tarot. And she represents the void from which creation comes, right? It is the high priestess is the energy that is in the vessel. You know, the vessel is Cancer, is holding its containment, but what's in the container is the moon, what's represented by the moon, the high priestess, the yin energy from which all creation springs from. This has been really nice. This Venus in Aquarius has been really nice, giving us, like I said, a template for how we want our relationships and our projects, and how we can be free, and how we can be part of a collective. But I think that as she's moving on in this particular sesquisquare is just giving us a little bit of like pause to consider, like, is this is all really great in conceptualizing these things and understanding how we want our world to look and our relationships to look, but is it really lining up with or resonating with the actual experience of emotional vulnerability and security? We need to bring need to bring Venus back down to Earth in some ways, out of Aquarius, in order to really get the most out of what we want to develop, because we can conceptualize these things all we want, but at the end of the day, we have to bring them into reality. And I think that the moon right now, not right now, but later today, she's going to give, you know, there's going to be this like subtle tension that we have an opportunity to, you know, rectify this energy, like bring Venus back down from, you know, the galaxy, the center of the galaxy or whatever, and bring her, which actually is interesting because this is 25 degrees here. This is just coming up to a sextile to the galactic center, which is in Sagittarius, 26 degrees Sagittarius. So in some ways, you know, we are trying to bring her back down onto Earth and into the moon, the sacred feminine, and to, you know, how is this going to actually look? How does this feel? How does this actually feel? And what is it about it that we can feel secure and safe about? You know, we've conceptualized these relationships and how they can be like, you know, and our projects, our work life, all the things that are part of our life that we want it to be harmonious and to feel good, but we have to bring it back down into reality in some ways. And the moon is going to help us do that by letting us feel it out. Where does it feel secure and safe? Where can we actually be vulnerable in these relationships and projects? And in the collection of our material resources, what actually feels harmonious? So that's going to be tonight. And then tomorrow is the actual lunar eclipse. So we're going to clear this, and then we're going to move on to the next chart here. Maybe. Let's do this. Out of the way. Ah, I see. So, all right, and this is the chart for the actual day, or the actual time, excuse me, of the eclipse itself. So let's get my little stylus again here. All right, the moves move. This is 11:22 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 20 degrees and 0 minutes. The moon opposing the sun, also at 20 degrees, 0 minutes of Capricorn. All right, so, and right after, I mean, the sun and Mercury are right here, I mean, right here with each other. I mean, within 6 seconds, 6 minutes, 6 minutes of the zodiacal wheel, right? So when a planet gets that close to the sun, it's called cazimi, and it's combust when it starts to get to a certain, you know, within a certain amount of degrees in close to the sun, and at that point the planet is said to diminish in its power because the light of the sun is overwhelming it. And then it gets to a point where it's almost pretty much conjunct almost exactly with the sun, and it's called cazimi, and it's like in the heart of the sun, and then therefore is reinvigorated and re-energized. And so not only do we have this full moon lunar eclipse, we have Mercury pretty much right on top of the sun, or right in front of the sun when it's happening, and Mercury is the messenger. When we have a lunar eclipse, what's happening is that the shadow of the Earth is casting a shadow onto the moon as the sun is shining onto the moon. So usually what the full moon period is when the light of the sun is shining fully onto the moon, therefore illuminating all of the things that the moon usually represents, which is how we feel, our subconscious, what's going on internally, what's going on in our dreams, our intuitions, and it's bringing it all up to light in order for us to see it for what it is, and then to flush it out, to let it go, whatever needs to be let go of, or to become aware of just to become aware of what's there. And in some ways, it is a time of releasing if there are things that need to be released. It might also be a time of accepting if we see that there are things there that we weren't aware of that we need to maybe give more energy to. So it's not just about releasing things, but it's really, you know, about these hidden elements that are in our subconscious and in the darker, you know, elements of who we are coming to light. Now, the Earth in a lunar eclipse, the Earth is casting a shadow, and so we still get the full illumination of the moon, but it's not fully lit, and so there is this level of shadow from the Earth, and so we're not getting the fullest illumination that we could in this situation, which I think is interesting because there are things that are, especially when it comes to, I mean, what's casting the shadow? The Earth herself. You know, there's something about what's going on Earth, what she represents, that is in some ways casting a shadow on the full illumination of a moon in Cancer. And I mean, what's going on the planet right now certainly has the potential to be casting a shadow on the full illumination of what is hidden, or what is on the inside, what's internal. And you could totally just see that playing itself out in so many ways. I don't even have to go into specifics. I'm pretty sure you can guess what kind of things are happening, and it could be in your personal life too. You know, the things that are actually happening on Earth in real time, casting a shadow on what is coming to the surface and coming to light, represented, you know, by the moon. So 11/22, and so now, and Mercury in Capricorn is very much being charged up by the sun in Capricorn as well, because it is essentially conjunct at the time of the full moon. So the messages that we are getting about, you know, long-term, serious, how do we reach our goal? How do we build something that lasts? You know, how do we build something that is not only for us, but for everybody, that is meant to, that creates some kind of structure for the whole community or the collective, you know? And it's very much about, like I said, Capricorn is very much about, you know, the patriarchy and a paternal type of energy, you know, of doing what needs to be done regardless, and meeting the bottom line regardless, and you're not really taking in a whole lot of other energy. And it's very material. I mean, that's why it's associated with the devil in tarot, because the devil is not evil. It's the idea that we think that materialism is the end goal of life in this universe, and we, as we're waking up, are realizing that that is not necessarily, well, it's actually not the case at all. That it's an important part, it's an essential part, it's a part that we can't move past as long as we're in physical form, and that's what Saturn is teaching us in Capricorn, and has been since 2017. But it is not the end all be all. But until these planets move out of Capricorn, they're still being activated and influenced by this energy, and the very serious conversations that have been coming up about how to best, you know, build these structures is really going to be charged by the sun at this point as well. And this can add even more confusion, I think, or it could certainly blast some information right through you and, you know what I mean, wake us up in terms of what we are actually building. I would just be very mindful about the messages coming through in all kinds of ways, you know, through mass media, through your own intuition at this point, because it's going to be really, really strong with Mercury and the sun pretty much conjunct at the time of the lunar eclipse. And so, let's see here. And then moving back just a little bit, you know, in early morning hours of this day of the 10th, we have the moon also trining with Neptune in Pisces. And I think that this is a really nice moment of inspiration, especially because it's going to be in the morning. This is a great time to be meditating and reflecting and diving into being inspired. You know, what is inspiring you to take care of yourself, take care of other people? You know, Neptune in Pisces is about delusion and illusion, but it's also about universal spiritual love. Like, it's about, you know, going back to source and the idea that we all are one and come from the same place. So what happens to one happens to all. And this is really, really nice. This is a very nice balance with the moon that's drawing us into self-care and nurturing each other and holding space and making sure that we're all taken care of. I think that the Neptune in Pisces is really going to activate it from a very spiritual perspective. And then, yes, we have Mercury conjunct the sun. And then right before the eclipse, I mean, within like 2 minutes, the moon is also going to, you can see this really thick red line, sesquisquare, 135-degree angle with Mars in Sagittarius. And, you know, the previous day, it was a quincunx, where it was a moment of inconjunct. And now what it is this subtle tension where the trajectories of these energies are going in different directions, perpendicular directions. And it's going to be subtle. It's not going to be something that we quite understand or we can really see very clearly, but we are going to realize that this Mars in Sagittarius energy could very well be at odds with this inner pull to take care of everything, you know, this Cancer energy of nurturing and maternal archetype, and Mars moving through Sagittarius. In some ways, if it is, you know, depending on what truth is, you know, does it even matter what truth is and seeking it if you can't even hold space and show love to people and compassion and kindness? That's the question that seems to be bringing up for me. And then the moon is then going to have the eclipse point, so opposing the sun, and then oppose Jupiter. And then a few hours later, she's going to oppose Saturn and Pluto, and they are pretty much at their conjunction point. I mean, just 2 days away, and they're within the same degree at this point. So, I mean, they're very much starting to interact with each other in a very real way. I think at this point, the moon, she's going to show us very clearly the tension between that shift, that Saturn and Pluto conjunction, and Saturn then is going to move past Pluto. There's going to be a shift, a big transformational shift, and then Saturn's going to keep going and put it into place before he then moves into Aquarius in a little while. But the moon, we're going to feel the emotional, personal implications of that very strongly with the eclipse. And it'll give us, like I said, a really clear view of what to expect in the next 2 days when Saturn and Pluto do conjunct. And it's, you know, it reverberates all through so many different areas of our life. But the thing that's really going to make the most sense to us at this moment with the lunar eclipse and the full moon is how this impacts our ability to hold space for others and ourselves, to be nurturing, to be kind, to be compassionate, and to show up. And it will challenge that. I almost want to guarantee that, because it is a tsunami that is coming. And so we need to be prepared for how it's going to impact us personally and internally. At that point, the moon goes void, of course, making no other major aspects until she moves into Leo on the 11th. And then in the evening, Uranus will start station direct and start moving forward, late afternoon, early evening. And then we'll really get a sense of, you know, how things in the physical, fixed nature of Taurus, when Uranus starts moving direct, that's where we're going to see some innovative, quick, rebellious change in this whole system. I think and then the moon's going to move into Leo the next day, and that's going to really be, we've come to this point of like containment, emotional vulnerability, and showing up for ourselves. And then when the move comes into Leo, we're really going to want to start expressing ourselves and taking center stage and making sure that we're being heard. And that's going to be a whole other thing, because then from there is when Saturn and Pluto do actually conjunct. And so I'm really glad this full moon is happening. And I know it's an eclipse, and so it's going to be, you know, the eclipse energy is something that is active for months to come after the eclipse. So I really feel like that this is stuff that's going to, you know, we're going to see playing out down the road with it, you know, all throughout 2020. But it's so important that we are taking care of ourselves, that we're taking care of each other, that we're putting our focus on showing up and holding space for the people in our lives, including ourselves, and to be patient and to be kind and to, you know, there's no need to be judgmental. There's no, Mars and Sagittarius, my God, like that is, you know, I have a Mars in Sag, so I deal with this a lot. You know, there is such a drive, and there is such an active move to create something, to be in battle in some ways with the truth on your side. And in a lot of, you know, there are a lot of times where that's absolutely necessary. And I can really feel like this detracts from, you know, our ability to really show up for each other and to just take it easy on each other and to show love and compassion for where people are at, instead of, you know, acting out and judging and feeling self-righteous and like we have all the answers. Because honestly, if we are in a human body and we're on Earth right now, there's no way you could really have all the answers. And honestly, the only answer is love. And that is how you can tell the difference between truth and something that somebody's trying to pass off as truth just to maintain control of something or someone. So orient your internal compass to the point of love and compassion, and keep it there no matter what, because that's what's going to guide you through all of this period. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit subscribe, like the video. I really am trying to get the word out, not for my own benefit, although that would be great, but I really do want to share this information and have it spread far and wide, because I think it's so important that that all of us are coming out with our authentic voices. In the description box below is all my details on how to get a hold of me, and I really appreciate all of you watching, and so please feel free to reach out. If you're watching this on Facebook, thanks for watching. Feel free to hit the like button and to follow this page. I do a lot of posting here on my Facebook page, and you can also access my services here and all of my contact information. And just keep an eye out. I always am updating, you know, with readings and, you know, intuitive guidance and updates on potential events and classes, and where I'm going to be practicing body work and Reiki, because that's in the pipeline as well. So I hope everybody has a really nurturing and wonderful new moon, full moon. God, I'm getting ahead of myself, or backwards, I'm not sure. Full moon lunar eclipse in Cancer. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to actually do a live at the time of the full moon or shortly before it, and do a live reading, and you know, hopefully get some collective energy going to really direct in the right places. And then within the next day or so, I'm going to post another report for the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, because that is also going to be really important. And it will be interesting to see how everybody is on the other side of the eclipse, just to get an idea of how to move forward. So I love you all so much. Thank you so much for being here and watching. Please take care of yourselves and each other. Bye.